So is this how you do it? Is this how you get all those subscribers? Colorful lights and fancy flashy things? I mean, because I could sell out if I have to, but I don't know. I think I'd rather just stick with the base content. So I did a thing for all the people that have been asking me, and they said, "Hey, can you help me out with my Creality Sonic Pad?" And the issue that I always run into is that nobody wants to send me anything, so therefore I have to buy it. And then I really piss off the community by saying, "Ha ha, I'm going to send you back to the Amazon gods where you came from to burn in your fiery hell." But I digress. So bad lighting aside, let's crack this thing open and see what's what. So this is the Creality Sonic Pad, and the claim to fame of the Creality Sonic Pad is that it will run Clipper firmware on your Creality machine, but it also claims to be able to do it on gazillions of others. So let's get this thing open, unboxed, and see what is what with it. So for the sake of prosperity and to make sure that we put everything back the way it came from when we send it back. So here we got couple of little doodads that come with it. This thing, I don't know, quality assurance, blah, blah, blah. And we all know how Creality is with their quality assurance. So that's a fairly decent size pad. It's a 7-inch touchscreen, capacitive, inside of this slippity-dippity condom here. I have to get that out with both hands. And this thing, and who the hell needs this? Okay, so we dip into the nitty gritty here. Hey, look at that, some silica to keep our filament dry. And here we are. Comes with this little dumber than a box of rocks going on here. It looks like there is a power brick and some fancy schmancy cabling. Oh, look at you. It even comes with an accelerometer. Well, that right there is worth the price of admission, isn't it? So we got some USB cables. We got the old universal dingle ends here for all you different foreign countries. But we live in America, so we don't have to worry about that horse shit. Comes with some adapters and what appears to be a USB stickety-dickety of sorts. Let's see. Yeah, more of that crap. Oh, here we go. Gotta find America. There it is. It's a 12-volt, 3-amp universal power supply. Wall wart, though. 6 to 1 half dozen the other, I guess. Takes a barrel connection. Not exactly sure what size it is. Let's see if it says it on here. Got. It does not say. It looks like a 5.5 on the exterior. Not so sure what the interior is. Have to check into that. It could either be a 2.1 or a 2.5, and if it's a 2.5, it's the favorite fruit of the 3D printer manufacturers, at least the Elegoo. The Elegoo's got the 2.5 center pin, and old Slamazon, they sell you nothing but 2.1s. 2.5s are a little hard to come by. So, I mean, it's pretty cut and dry. Let's get this thing powered up and see what it says when we fire up the old Creality Sonic Pad. So first things first, capacitive screen, like I said, no screen protector to speak of. So therefore you can see all the reflectos and everything else. So here we go. On the back here, we've got some USBs to plug in for a USB to drive the unit, a camera for a camera. It's got a LAN port. It's got the sensor plug right here for the, what I'm assuming is an ADXL 345, but don't know. It's covered up in proprietary plastique. It's got the DC input here. Everything's on the back, so it doesn't stick out like the Hongwong or whatever they are 7-inch screens that I've been buying. It's got these little table legs here. It's a nice little touch. It'll stand by itself. And it's got a speaker to tell you to go kiss off. So that's cool. So let's get some power to this thing and see exactly what is required. I'm sure it's going to require a bin file. It's going to require a printer CFG. And from what I understand, the built-in make menu configs do not have anything Elegoo specific, but we'll see what it comes with as far as the processor options. So we'll ditch the hokey circus lighting for now, and just a couple things that I noticed is that on the left side there's 2 USB ports to speak of in addition to the one on the back. So that's probably where you would put your memory card to load your programs in. Power button's on the right hand side, so I'll press that and fire it up. Hopefully get rid of some of that reflecto. Nope, apparently not. So the irony of it is that the less light I have in my room, the better it is to film the screen. So bear with me, you won't see much of my hands because in order to get a good picture, I had to turn my white balance down to basically nothing. So I did get this to work, but I wanted to walk through the steps of how to actually do it. Once you get it fired up, it's going to go through a menu. You select your language. You acknowledge that you have read all of the blah, blah, blah. And you will now refer to them as we, us, and our. They have pronouns. Next, it'll ask you for your region. And I did the firmware update on this. And it was different initially because it didn't have this big menu that came up. It basically just had a little drop down. But what you have to do is you have to scroll, because they are it's very finicky about the area because there's so many of them. So, like America, I had it set to America, New York. And let's see, Dawson's Creek. Look at that. We've got Dawson's Creek. Holy. All right, let's see. So we're going to go down to... Hey, there he is, America, New York. We're going to pick the New York territory right here, the region right here. We'll go to the next step. And it's going to ask us for our Wi-Fi. And we'll go into our Wi-Fi. If you hit Add Network, it's going to ask you for your SSID. You put in your password, hit OK, and it will come up. And here you go. So from there, hit Next Step. We give it a name, and we'll say, in this case, we'll just keep it as Creality Sonic Pad. I'm just going to do a factory reset anyway, but if I wanted to, I could change the name. I could come in and say something like that. So now from here, we get into the machine menu, and we choose the machine that we want. They have the Ender series. The new update has the CR, it has some Prussias, and it has some Sur Moons, whatever the hell they are. From there, you can choose whether it's a 3 series, 5 series, 6, blah, blah, blah. In this case, we don't have any of the aforementioned, so we will just scroll all the way over to where we see Other Model. Under Other Model, hit Next Step. So what you want to do at this point, with the USB stick that comes with the Sonic Pad, you'll want to put the printer.cfg file onto the stick that you're going to use. And you have to put it on the root directory of the stick. In my case, I put the Neptune 3 standard CFG file from my GitHub page onto the stick. You then insert the stick into one of the USB ports on the left-hand side. If you have the machine plugged into the USB port, you could try to do a get hardware serial port ID. I didn't have any luck with this, but if you do, then you're a better man than I. So there is a little bit that you have to go through in order to get this thing to actually work. So what you'll do is you'll go to, if you want to create firmware, you can go motherboard firmware compile. What I noticed on here is you basically get the make menu config in a GUI style with drop downs and stuff like that. So you can do your enable low level, you can choose your STM32, and then from there you can choose the STM32F401. But it doesn't have the option for the bootloader, the 32 KB bootloader, or even the 28. But the 103 has the options 28, 32. The 407 is also here. We choose the 407 for the Neptune 2. We've got the 32 bootloader. We don't have 28, so I have to double check on which one the 407 is actually going to be looking for. But you can use this to make the firmware file for your motherboard, or you can just basically take my GitHub bin files, or you can create your own bin file if you have a computer that's got Linux on it, and you could just make the bin file through the standard make menu config. Once you're done there, you hit generate and it'll create the bin file for you. You have to make sure you rename the bin file for the proper naming convention for the board that you're going to be flashing. In the case of the Neptune 2, it's going to be lowercase letters elegoo.bin, and on the Neptune 3, it'll be capital letters znp underscore robin underscore nano.bin. But if you're not going to do that, just make sure you have the printer.cfg file that you're going to be using on the USB stick, and you have the .bin file flashed to the machine. Hit next step, and it says printer.cfg file is detected. Is the file loaded? Hit loaded. It says please ensure firmware has been flashed, blah blah blah. Hit OK, and it's going to load. From this point, I'm going to go to the computer and I'm going to show you, because you have to SSH into this and you have to get the serial identification. This is going to keep loading with the load screen. It's going to time out eventually and it's not going to work. But I'm going to go and I'm going to show you what you need to do to get this to actually do what it's going to do. So if you watch my video on setting up the MKS Pi, the steps aren't really that much different once you get to this point, because what you're going to do is you're going to go to your router configuration and you're going to find the IP address that correlates to the Sonic Pad. Go to your web browser, type it in, and over here, when you get the fluid interface, you're going to see printer's not ready, blah, blah, blah. If you get this message, if you go down to your configuration tool and you go into printer.cfg, if you scroll down, you can see right here I've got the stuff already set up. I kept some of the macros that were included on the Creality Ender 3 configuration. I'm going to read through these and see if they're worth their salt, but I took all of the necessary information from my printer.cfg, and if you didn't want to use the Creality config, and you won't get any of this stuff here, but the majority of stuff that you're going to need is the virtual SD card information here, and you're going to need some of the MCU stuff. So if we come down to MCU, we'll see right here that the default is dev serial by ID USB serial 1. So we could try doing it the other way. We could say dev TTY USB 0, save and restart. And we can see right there the TTY USB 0 actually did work. So if that didn't work and you have to SSH into it, you could do it through Windows Command Prompt, or you can do it through PuTTY. In this case, I'll do it through PuTTY because I didn't really do much with PuTTY in the last video. So in PuTTY, I'll put my address, hit enter. It's going to ask me to log in. The username is Creality and the password is Creality. From here, I can do my Linux commands to kind of navigate around. There's a lot of things that are missing or are not the same on this version of Linux that would not pertain to the MKS Pi. So I could do certain things like dir with a space and then hit tab a few times, and I could see my available folders inside of the directory that I'm in. I could do an ls USB, and I could see that my devices come up. I've got my Quinhang electronics, blah, blah, blah. This is the giveaway that the motherboard is attached to the Sonic Pad. So all things considered, it is ready to go. And you can see over here it's ready to go because it just came up. But in my case, I want to check the device to see what the explicit name of the device is. And in order to do that here, I have to go to CD, space, put a slash, and then enter. Once I do that, then I can do ls/dev/serial. As you start filling it in, if you hit tab, it will backfill what it's looking for. So if I hit tab again, it's just going to come up with by with a dash. Because if I hit it again, there's by path and by ID. If I do by ID, put another slash and then a star. If I hit enter, you can see right here that the explicit device that is attached to that motherboard is dev serial by ID USB underscore serial underscore 3. So if I copy this, so select it, highlight it, Control C, go to my printer.cfg in here, come down to the MCU section, and instead of dev/TTY USB 0, I could just do Control V to paste it. And we'll see right here, dev serial by ID USB serial 3. Save and restart, and you can see that it loads. And now at this point, I've got full functionality. I'm ready to rock and roll. I've got all of the stuff that came up here because I did a copy and paste from my printer.cfg file. I did take some of the Creality macros, and I'm going to try those out on my regular touchscreen, but for now, I do have all of this set up, and it's got the BL Touch already configured, so I could just home out my machine, and I'm watching it right now. It's homing out X, it's homing out Y. You can hear it come to the middle. The BL Touch pin comes down. The Z comes down, touch, backs away, comes down, touches, retracts, and it's ready to go. So I haven't tested through every single thing, but you can see right here, I get a whole bunch of macro buttons that pop up. So once we're successful with getting it running on Fluid, we come back to the Sonic Pad and it'll say, congratulations on loading the file. Now it's going to do some self-tests. So we hit OK. Blah, blah, blah. We hit next step. It's going to self-test, and the self-test is going to run through the hot end test. So we'll hear the cabinet fan and the hot end fan kick on. Hit next step. We'll confirm that the fan is turning properly. Hit next step. And then we'll confirm that the actual cooling fans are working. And if the cooling fans are working, we just hit next step. Next step. And it will say, congratulations, the printer is in perfect condition. And from here, we know that we're in good working shape. So it looks a little bit like Clipper Screen. It looks a little bit like its own thing. There's a little icon guy up in the corner here. He's kind of cool. There's a bunch of different things you can go to. Because we're on Wi-Fi, we can load up all of the instruction manuals and upload our logs if we have an issue and things like that. Up in here, we go to Move. We could do a Home All, and you'll be able to hear it. So it's homing the machine out. So keep in mind, I didn't use any of the Creality specific files. I used my bin file. I used my printer.cfg file. I took a couple of their macros and I'm going to kind of test them out. I'm going to copy them to my printer.cfg. I'm going to test them out and see how well they work. And if they work, then I'm just going to keep them. But from here, I can go and I can choose some movements. I can move my Z. It moves up. I can move my X. It moves over. It does make a little poppy noise when you press a button, a little boink. Right there. Under Home, Configure, I go to Other Settings. You can change the screen timeout. You can change the screen brightness. The least brightest and the most brightest, there's a fair difference. You can change the time from 12 hour to 24 hour, vice versa. Keytones, you can change the volume of the tone. You can change the type of sound. Or we could turn it off. There's some advanced options. We could display the macros. We can display the console. We could do PID calibrations. We could flip the screen around. So if we wanted the USB ports on the right-hand side, we go to Home, go to Macro. We can see the different macros here. So it's very much like Clipper Screen, just their own little flavor of it. I don't see my motherboard or my pi temperature. Well, in this case, I'm not going to see pi temperature, but it should show at least the temperature of the unit itself. Under Control, we've got Fan. I do have the cooling fan still turned on. Let's see if that works. Nope, slide it down. Turn it down, turn it halfway up. So you can see that it does make a difference there, so that it's all working. So that will pretty much conclude this video for now. I just wanted to thank everybody for watching the video, and I wanted to thank everybody that's been contributing to getting Clipper running on these Neptune series of printers. It's not one single person. There are a lot of people that are working in the background to make it so that we do have plug-and-play solutions for the Elegoo series of printers. That being said, if you're interested in a Creality Sonic Pad, I'll leave a link in the description of this video so you can click on that. It'll bring you to an Amazon affiliate link, but it has no bearing on you. It just helps contribute to the channel. And again, if you're in the market for the Sonic Pad, the configuration and binary files that are on my GitHub page do work. Don't try to compile a binary from the Sonic Pad for your Neptune printer. It doesn't quite have the options that you need for these boards. But that being said, grab the binary file, grab the printer.cfg, flash the motherboard like you normally would. Put the bin file onto your SD card, put the SD card into your machine, power it up, connect the Sonic Pad, go through the steps, put the printer.cfg onto the USB stick, and everything should come up. If you change the printer.cfg to the /dev/tty USB 0, chances are this will come right up. So I hope this was as entertaining as it was informative. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon.